What's going on, all you cool cats and kittens? James here, and today we're talking about Tiger King on Netflix. It's crazy as all heck, so let's get started. Yippee! What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and today, yes, we are talking about Netflix's documentary miniseries based on a true crime, Tiger King. If you haven't heard about it, you've been living under a rock, but since we are in quarantine, this is quality TV. Some people don't like it. I'll break down why it's not perfect, but there are things to really love about this documentary series. Before I get started though, if this is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James. Now if you're wondering who that is, that's me, and I love talking all about movies and TV shows. If you do too, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and tap on the little notification bell just to stay up to date with anything new that I drop. Streaming platforms have been stepping up with a ton of awesome content, so I'm looking forward to going through everything that I watch and just dropping reviews on that for you guys, so you're gonna want to stay tuned to the channel. If you've missed it, I've reviewed Love is Blind Season 1, we talked about Wonder Woman getting delayed, we talked about what's next to get delayed, so there's a lot of content. I'll drop some links below and you can find them right at the top of the screen throughout the video. There's also a poll that you might have seen. If you haven't, go ahead and tap on the eye in the corner of the screen, but do you think Joe is guilty? Actually, maybe I should just ask if you guys think Carole murdered her husband. Alrighty, but we'll talk about all that in the review. Let's get started. Tiger King is directed by Goode and Rebecca Chaiklin. Both of them spent several years on this project, and what they did is basically follow Joe Exotic, this eccentric, crazy, gun-toting, gay, redneck zoo owner, who, yes, fits all those adjectives, and he's insane. Like, he's crazy. Everyone in this series is really crazy, except for the tigers, I guess. But what he did is get himself in a ton of trouble and is in jail right now serving a 22-year sentence for hiring someone to murder Carole Baskin, who owns the Big Cat Rescue, basically the arch nemesis of Joe Exotic, Doc Antle, and a lot of these bigger zoo owners who unfortunately are in the habit of breeding tigers and selling them and doing a lot of stupid things with animals. But Carole Baskin isn't in the clear either, but we'll talk about that, I promise. Now, this is a short miniseries. It's only 7 episodes, and I actually liked it. I liked it quite a bit. A lot of people don't like it. I've been seeing a lot of negative comments about this documentary miniseries, but for me, Tiger King introduces me to a topic I had no idea about. I didn't know about Joe Exotic, Carole Baskin, and possibly killing her late husband, Don Lewis. I didn't know about any of that, so this was all new for me. And especially because it has ties to Florida, you're like, all right, we've seen some crazy things in this state. But yeah, this is insane, man. All of the memes that you've seen, they're all accurate. None of this is exaggerated. I mean, he's nuts. Joe Exotic is a guy who ran for president, knew he wouldn't get it, so he ran for governor of Oklahoma. Didn't get that either, but was tossing out condoms with his face on them, asking people to vote for him. And none of this is a lie. Like, this is actually a thing. I mean, there's so many moments in here where, and of course I'll keep it spoiler-free for those who might not have seen it, but I will talk about some spoilers later on in the review. I'll give you guys a heads up before I do that. But without spoiling anything, Joe Exotic, Carole Baskin, Jeff, I think his name is Lowe, I can't remember, I have to go find it, but they're all nuts. So the names that you're going to hear throughout this miniseries are as follows. So you have Joe Exotic, you have Carole Baskin, her husband Howard Baskin, Don Lewis, Doc Antle, or Bhagavan Antle, I think his name is. He's like a cult leader of some sort, whatever. John Finlay, Travis Maldonado, both husbands of Joe Exotic. And this staff member, Saf, and another guy named John Rinke. It's an interesting line of characters. They're all very different and unique in their own right, and there's no one to root for here, to be honest with you guys. That's the thing. I think that's why this is such a good watch, is because you don't root for anybody. Internally, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll take the lesser of two evils, but no, there are no lesser of two evils here. Oh, how could I forget Rick Kirkman and this other dude, goodness gracious, I forgot his name. Oh, Tim Stark. Yeah, they're all just nuts. But if you're like me and watched all 7 episodes, this is a series that relies on shock value. There's a lot of home video here that almost puts you in disbelief because you can't imagine this ever happening. But what the directors do very well with Tiger King is give you both sides of the playing field. So Joe Exotic is not doing the most ethical of things when it comes to bringing in tigers. Carole Baskin is trying to stop all of this illegal breeding and trading of tigers and other big cats. The thing is, though, she's not, like I said, in the clear either. So she's criticizing, her and her group, of course, are criticizing Joe Exotic, Tim Stark, and all these other big groups. However, Carole Baskin and Howard Baskin are taking these tigers and also holding them captive. They're just getting free work because their volunteers believe in the message. I think there was a very interesting turning point for me when it came to how I viewed Big Cat Rescue and Carole Baskin's mission. When she starts explaining that all of her volunteers work for free, sometimes 7 days a week, right? And they have different colored shirts depending on the tier that they're in. If you have like a red shirt, it means you're in one level, purple is another, yellow is another. Now that's crazy talk. But the thing is, her volunteers believe her 110%. So Carole Baskin is really not that much different from Joe Exotic. The only thing she's not doing is illegally breeding these tigers, or of course selling them. However, she's been caught up in that before, where she's bought animals from different auctions. Now when it comes to Joe Exotic, he's actually a lot flashier. So he's toting around guns, he's shooting at the ground, he's always having somebody record him. His life is basically bigger than we could ever imagine it is. The thing is, it's not that successful. He's actually in a lot of debt most of the series, and we learn that he's going above and beyond to kill Carole Baskin. Now, do I believe that he paid somebody money? Yes. Do I believe that he orchestrated it all by himself? Absolutely not. Now, the series does a decent job at pacing itself. So the first episode introduces you to everything, and the second and third is when it ramps up in intensity. The only problem I have is that towards the end of the miniseries, just between episodes 6 and 7, I started to fall off in terms of my interest. Maybe because I saw what was coming, but there's also another factor here, and that's, I think, less spectacle. When you get through all of that glitter and glamour, right? Glamour, it's not very glamorous. You start to realize that this is not a series that is necessarily strong because of its writing, if that makes sense. It relies on these crazy home videos, but when you get done with all of that, there's not a lot of substance left. And that's a huge reason why I think the documentary series isn't necessarily great, but it is still very good and entertaining. So what I can tell you is I recommend watching this and spending your time with it. It's not for kids. There's a lot of suggestive material in here, and it is insane. Oh my god, there's so much to talk about without me spoiling anything. I can't do it. So you know what, guys? What I will say is I recommend it. Okay. So, from this point onward, we're going to talk some spoilers, so pardon me if I start explaining some of the crazier moments in Tiger King. Let's go ahead and talk about these insane scenes that were depicted in Tiger King. It's nuts. Now, the mystery fan in me actually was really interested in Carole Baskin and Don Lewis's storyline. Don Lewis is this multi-millionaire, and they were married together. They actually met while Carole Baskin was walking down the road alone, and Don Lewis was trying to convince her to get in his truck and gave her a handgun to point at him the whole way back to make her feel comfortable. And then they slept together and had, a night together, and they were married until he mysteriously disappeared one day. And there's a lot of evidence that suggests he was trying to get his way out and find a way to divorce her without her taking all the money. And then there's also a lot of evidence to suggest that Carole Baskin had a huge hand in this. I won't lie to you guys, do I think Carole Baskin had something to do with it? Absolutely. Do I think she was the only one involved? No. Similar to Joe Exotic's case, no. I think that Carole Baskin had somebody else working with her, but she definitely knows what happened to her late husband, who I don't think she cared too much about towards the end of the relationship. It sounded more so that she was concerned about the money so she could have her own zoo or have her own conservation fund. And then, of course, the main draw is Joe Exotic. He's this larger-than-life personality who, if you just saw his home videos, you would think he's doing so well. He's got a ton of money, like he's in Oklahoma living a good life almost, I guess, in his eyes. But no, he was definitely hurting and strapped for cash most of this series. He started off actually making a profit, but then I think at one point it turned when he realized that his face was profitable, that his name was profitable. This guy got a huge ego, and it never stopped. Some of my favorite moments that I was laughing out loud at were his music videos. I mean, listen, I can't tell you how many times I laughed, but there's one episode that is pretty much just dedicated to his crazy music videos and basically giving you a glimpse into his persona, his mind. Yeah, the guy is... the guy's insane. The problem is he's insane by the strictest of definitions. He kept going on what he called Joe Exotic TV. He actually hired somebody, a producer named Rick Kirkman, who just came in wanting to shoot a reality show and had so much footage, and there was so much good stuff captured on camera that unfortunately got burned after a mysterious fire occurred in the studio at the Greater Wynnewood Zoo. So it's weird, but I think Joe Exotic had a part to play in it. There was a lot of stuff captured, I'd imagine, that would not have painted him in the best light, but luckily for us as the viewer, we got to see a lot of footage that we probably would never have seen if it wasn't for Tiger King. And then the big thing here is, did Joe hire somebody to kill Carole Baskin? Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, there's a lot of biased evidence here, because there's this dude, I believe his name is Alan Glover, and there's Jeff Lowe, and they do not like Joe Exotic. Jeff Lowe was in a lot of debt and owed people money, and was thinking that he would just take over the zoo for Joe Exotic and be making a lot of profit. The thing is, though, that kind of turned on its head. Jeff Lowe started feeling a lot of heat from Carole Baskin and Big Cat Rescue, so they both kind of came up with an idea to kill Carole Baskin. The thing is, Joe Exotic did one of the stupidest things you could probably do in this case, which is give somebody money for it. I believe he did give $3 grand to Alan Glover. The only thing is, Jeff Lowe most likely should have been indicted just as harshly as Joe Exotic, because he had a huge hand in this, and so should have Alan Glover. I mean, anyone involved in this is awful. But because Joe made it all about him, it got him in a ton of trouble, and there are other people that I think should have gone down with Joe Exotic, but they didn't. Do I think Carole Baskin is kind of a hypocrite? I do. I think that she's not innocent at all. She had a hand in her husband's murder, but she also takes these tigers as well. Like, they're held captive in her zoo. Like, you can prove that. You can go and find that this is a thing. And she has people working for her for free. So for her to like chastise the employees of Joe Exotic at that time was weird, because I thought, wait a second, dude, you're doing the same thing but almost worse, because you're not paying them and they're being overworked. So it's just awful. I mean, there's a lot of things in here that'll shock you, but Tiger King is really one of the more entertaining miniseries that I've seen on Netflix. It's much better than the Aaron Hernandez series that was released earlier this year that I saw. And yeah, I think that this is something you need to watch, especially during quarantine, because trust me, y'all got 7 hours to spare. Alrighty, you guys, so there you go. Those are my thoughts on Tiger King. I really recommend it. I think it's insane. It's wild. Watching it with somebody is actually fun too. I didn't get that luxury, unfortunately, but I've been talking not only to my girlfriend and all of our friends about this, but boy, this is going to provide a lot of material for the rest of the year. The memes are plentiful. If you agree with me or if you disagree with me, go ahead and give this video a like anyway. Share it with your friends, and again in the comments below, just let me know what you guys think when you watch it. Don't forget to hit the big red button below and subscribe to the channel as well, because we're dropping a lot more content. I mean, listen, I'm working from home, I'm being safe, I'm inside, I'm healthy, but I just want to stay in touch with you guys, make sure you're okay, and I just love doing this each and every day. We are so close to 900 subscribers, and I can't thank you guys enough. Alrighty, you guys, so that's my time. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening. Hey y'all, cool cats and kittens.